Salam, hello everyone. Welcome to this video today. We have a topic that is of most interest to anyone who comes across numerology, which is the date of birth. It's a fascinating topic how the day that we were born could have an impact on how we are. And we are going to start dipping our toes into the topic today and start revealing a little bit of the mysteries on how those numbers in the date of birth are connected to the different aspects of ourselves, namely the gift that we are giving into coming in this life, the destiny that is waiting for us, the kind of work, that professional work that would be suitable for us, and many, many other things, relationship to our parents, relationship to our friends. The different aspects of the date of birth are connected to all these aspects. And by understanding a little bit of the numbers, we can take a look at the date of birth and learn a lot about ourselves. So we're going to be going into this topic. Always assume, first of all, we don't do readings in Karam Kriya numerology. We don't say things about a person just because of the numbers that they have. Naam Infinity, hello, welcome to the stream. We don't do readings on people, but mainly because two people being born on the same day will have different expression of the same number. So what it means is that the number is there and the number can manifest in many ways. And depending on the person, it will manifest on one way or another. And so two people being born on the same day or on the same month will recognize some qualities which are common to both of them. But some of them will be it could be like the opposite, but not always necessarily the opposite, but it could be like the opposite, like something we were talking about. I think on something came up with number 9 when we were doing a little bit of analysis of the number 666 because it was the 6th of June. We did a video on that, and I was mentioning how number 9 can be connected to both peace and patience and impatience. So it can be both things, and so somebody being born on the day 9 or the month 9 or the year, whatever, it will have a different expression, whether it's the day or the month. We're going to talk about this today. But somebody will experience it more like patience, and somebody will experience it more like impatience. So we're going to not assume anything just because we know the day that somebody was born. We cannot assume how is the manifestation of that happening. However, there is going to be some manifestation. Through the last videos, we have been seeing how numbers are everywhere in the world. This is numerology through Shiv Charan Singh. He has developed it for many years. And he has been inspired by Pythagorean numerology, which is one of the oldest numerologies in which he was looking, Pythagoras, I'm talking now, at the essence of numbers, rather than the application of numbers for something else. He did also utilize mathematics, but the interesting thing about Pythagorean numerology would be that numbers have some particular essence and you can study it. As a difference with other systems like Kabbalah or I Ching or any other numerology system which applies numbers to something in particular. So there is some essence to numbers, and numbers are everywhere. Saddam Sohail, good to see you. There is some essence to numbers. The numbers are everywhere and they are affecting us. Now, those numbers which are closer to us are going to be affecting us more. And so those numbers that you see every day, let's say the number of your house, the number of the license plate in your car, your telephone number, those are going to have a certain effect on us. The fact that you are surrounded by these numbers is going to have some imprint. But the ones who are going to have the strongest impact are those who are sealed on our identity card, let's say. Yeah, the card that it says who I am, my identity, my name, where was I born, who were my parents, and it has some numbers. And those numbers, we have to fill them up again and again in so many forms. And people ask us our age, and we say the years of our age. Those numbers are going to be having a very strong influence on us. So that's what we like to study. Now, when we look at the date of birth, here we are doing an application of the essence of numbers on something, in this case, the date of birth. And this is a nice way to see how can I put into practice what I'm learning about numbers. We have been exploring number 7, and now we are exploring number 5. we did the beginning of a dictionary of the qualities associated to every pair of numbers, 1, 9, 2, 8, these pairs. And okay, now we know a little bit of the language of numbers. We are starting to have the most basic vocabulary. And so we can also say, well, what can we do with that? In a way, sometimes we want to know what do we do with the numbers. It's not that we have to do anything with them, but certainly by observing the numbers in the date of birth, it can tell a lot about who we are, the challenges we face, and how we can cross through the challenges to get to our highest destiny. So this is why we're gonna be exploring the date of birth. Now, studying the date of birth to me is like one of the most magical things about studying Karam Kriya, because you know yourself very well, or you think that you know yourself very well. And then when you start exploring the meaning of the numbers in those positions, for example, if you're born on the day 2, is not the same as the month 2, is not the same as the year 22. So by studying the number in those positions, it can be very revealing to some aspects of yourself that up until now they were affecting you in a subconscious way and you weren't conscious of them. The moment that you see it, you have the potential for changing them, particularly those who were resulting more problems in your life, the problematic aspects of, let's say, the karmic manifestation of those numbers. When you look at them, because you know what that number means, and because you know what is the karmic and the dharmic expression, you can get out of the karmic and find a more dharmic expression of that number. We will see this more as we advance into our understanding of numerology. Today we will do the most basic understanding of the different positions of the date of birth. Now, the day of birth, the position of the planets and in the year, it was important. The day that we were born, it's clear that the moon is affecting us. It's clear that the planets around us affect us. There's no doubt about the effect of the moon, which is the closest celestial body that we have. But all the others have some effect. And so we're going to look at, through the date of birth, we're going to explore this. Now, again, it seems very magical, and myself, me, coming from a very, how do you say that? Skeptic background, yeah, from engineering and science. I was like, come on, how can the day that you were born have an effect on you? It doesn't make any sense. And yet, if you remain open enough, thankfully I was open enough to perceive this, then you will start to see the correlation very, very clearly and very soon. So all I'm going to ask is to stay a little bit open to receive this understanding. So the first thing we have to do is find a convention on how we want to plot the date of birth. So when we have, in what we use in Karam Kriya is a specific diagram that we draw like this. Circle in the middle of some a cross. And we're going to do this a lot of times. This is the most basic diagram. And this is just a convention, really. We need to decide how we're going to write this on paper to be able to observe what is happening with the date of birth. So this is the way that we utilize the way Shiv Charan has established. Sat Naam, Sat Seva, good to see you. Welcome. We're talking date of birth today. So we need to write it down in some way. This is the way we're going to be doing it. And if you look at this diagram, what this means is that this quadrant of the diagram has a relationship with the numbers 1 and 9. If you remember, the numbers which add up to 10 are connected. If you haven't seen this video where we were talking the introduction to the number dictionary, I recommend doing that before watching this video. But this is every axis, let's say, is linked to a pair of numbers. Now, when we go into this diagram, this will be considered the first one. This will be the second one. And the second pair of numbers, 2 and 8. Then we have 3 and 7. and 4 and 6. And for 5 and 10, I will use a light blue, a light color of blue. So when we did this table, we could have also done it in this format, and we could have written Earth here. We can actually do it. Yeah, we can do this, for example. I'll do it with black. You can say Earth. And you could follow water, that would be here. Then we have fire, is the 3 and 7. So we would have here fire, and air, and ether. So this is just a way of writing it down. However, I want to explain something about what you see right here. Remember that the 5 and the 10 are special kind of numbers. Ether is kind of especially, we look at the hand, the thumb, the 5th finger, can touch the other fingers. So it has a special relationship to all the other 4, to earth and water and fire and air. And what you can do to imagine that is that this is a flat surface, this is a paper, but this is trying to represent a 3-dimensional figure. So imagine that you take this bubble in the middle and you pull it up. Yeah? And this is like it becomes like a pyramid. And the top bubble would be this, and then these are the 4 corners. So it would be something, let me see if I can draw it more or less. It would be kind of like this. Yeah, so it's kind of like a pyramid, and you would see this would be the 5 and 10, and then you would have the 1 here, the 3 here. I know it's very small, but just for you to get an idea. Now, why do we separate this number? Why do we do this number here like more elevated? Because the 5th number in the center, in a way, is the most influential number on our lives. All the others have a particular aspect of our life which it's influencing, but this number is always influencing everything. It's as if I look through the window in my house. Now, everything I see out there, I can be looking at many things, but everything I see is passing through this window. So this is our window, and this is particularly the place where everything is filtered through. Yeah, we receive information through the 5 senses, number 5, so 5 senses, and this middle point is going to be gathering everything that happens around us and in us, and it's going to pass filtered through here. So the number that is going to be here is going to be most important in understanding ourselves. But every number has its own importance in a different way. They affect different part of ourselves, but this will be the general one, the complete one, let's say. Now, just a little detail. When we're going to explore the date of birth, somebody's date of birth, we should use the calendar that is predominant for that person, whatever your culture is. I mentioned is the numbers that you write, is the numbers that are linked to your identity, how you identify, how old you are. This is connected to the numbers of the date of birth that you write. So if you are, whatever calendar that you are utilizing, that's the one that you would be plotting here when we learn how to put it here, the date of birth. So mostly I'm going to talk in the general Western calendar, but it's applicable anyway to any calendar that you would use. So, should we start? Feel free to ask any question, if you are online, and also in the comments of the YouTube channel. If you have some question about whatever I say, you can just write it there. we can discuss it. I always answer the messages. Sometimes I take more than longer or shorter, but I always answer. So feel free to do that. Let's go for the first element. Now, what are we going to write here? This is, I'm going to utilize the terms that, Shiv Charan uses. Let me just share where all of this is coming. I mentioned this is coming from my teacher, Shiv Charan Singh. We have a beautiful thing from him, which is a wonderful book that he wrote, in which he went through all the basics of numerology and the date of birth and many other things related to the Karam Kriya. It's more like a Bible. It's like in the sense that you use it as a reference. This is a book that is kind of hard to read from cover to cover, like in order, page to page, because it's so full of things, so dense that you read a paragraph and it can take you in so many directions and you have to kind of stop and meditate every now and then. But I totally recommend this book. It's a wonderful book. Sometimes I thought if I had to go to a desert island and I couldn't take any more than one book with me, which I would take, this is the one I would take. It's my reference. And you see some little things here. This is not my only copy I have. And I was blessed with translating this book with the help of other translators. So I collaborated in the translation, and that made me be immersed into this book for a long time. It took a long time to translate. Now let me read a little bit of what Shiv Charan says about the date of birth. The time cycles that we number, the days, the months, the years and century, and our relationship to them all, are all represented in our date of birth. The practice of Karam Kriya acknowledges these rhythms as well as the vibrational influences of the numbers with which we label them. This combination is so strong that it provides a very important basis from which the negotiation of meaningful insight and change can begin. Yeah? So we can start change within ourselves through negotiating how we are living with these numbers. Our date of birth provides a window into our life patterns, which is also our karma. And so it is, therefore, a scientific tool for transformation, and when applied with integrity, becomes the art of self-realization. So the numbers can guide us to that place of self-realization by understanding better our karma and how to get out of it. Because numbers have some properties that we can study, and then by looking at our date of birth, these properties can guide us. And that's why the book is called Let the Numbers Guide You. The spiritual science of numerology. So I recommend this book. If anybody doesn't have it, you can get it online. This is from, what's the O Books. Yeah, the editorial is O Books. But you can find it in any online shop if you wish. So this is not a substitute for a workshop, just like these videos that we are doing here are not a substitute for an actual workshop. So if anybody wants to study more numerology, it's recommended that you actually do the training. But it's a good starting point and it's a source of a lot of inspiration. So the way he labels these different aspects, the first one, this one here, this is what Shiv Charan calls the yearly cycle. He calls it the seed. And it's the yearly cycle. So this means that here we have the year, but it's only the last two numbers of the year. So these two. So imagine that you are born on the 1965. So it's only the 65 year. Yeah. So we take these two, and this is what's called the yearly cycle. And, when we are asked which year were we born, generally we say that 65, 72, 83. We don't say 19-something, 1982, 19... Because most people do not live over 100 years old. So by knowing the year, we know by naming these 2 digits of the year, we know the whole year. So that's the number that becomes more symbolic for us, the 65. We will utilize the whole number somewhere else, but for now, let's just say this 65. And it's representative of the year. And the year is something, it's a cycle. I mean, we're talking about date of birth. Date of birth is about time, which time in the world, in the history of this planet we were born. So we are talking about time. And in relationship to the earth, the element of earth, you will remember this is 1 and 9. 1 and 9 is the earth, is the seed. So every year we do something with the seeds. From the, many thousands of years ago, this is actually one of the things that made humanity evolve more. The gathering of seeds, the reserving some seeds from the next year. Some seeds you would grind to make flour, some you would press to make oil, some you would plant on the earth to produce the vegetables that are going to sustain you throughout the whole year. So the connection between seeds and the yearly cycle is very important. And so now we know all these other things which are connected to the earth and the seed, so we would see how this is connected to all these other aspects as well. So for example, our relationship to magic would be connected to this, 65. We're not going to go into detail what does that mean right now. It will happen slowly as we progress our language with, as we learn more about the language and learn more about the diagram. But for the moment, let's just start with this, that we connect it in this way. So 65 or 70 something and so on. And every one of these decades, the 65s, the 70s, being born in the 80s, being born in the 90s, it has a particular sort of identity that goes beyond the personal. It goes more into the impersonal. This is numbers 1 and 9. 1 would be the most personal of the numbers, and 9 would be the most impersonal. So you can see that there is something linked to every decade that has passed through this planet. And the other day I was thinking about this, and this morning I was having fun thinking of the different mudras, these postures that we generally do with the hands in yoga, how they have been evolving through the decades, actually, not through the years, but through the decades. So that's connected to this aspect here. And we can see the hippies from the 60s, with the peace sign, wanting peace. And we would see in the 70s these protests anti-Vietnam, and it was like the evolution, from the hippies rebelling against the Vietnam War, and then this social justice, and also this expression with a closed fist. So that would be it was more stronger in the 70s. Then as we come into the 80s, we come into contact with pop culture, which rises, and music becoming rock and punk, and this symbol like, rock on. That would be the 80s. And then on the 90s, we have incredible surge in the technological advances and research, and it becomes more grunge and more like, yay, dude. So it's more like that, this kind of mudra. Then we come into the 00s, the 2000s, and with the new millennium, that would be the digital age, the 00. We could do like the 0, like okay, like the new digital age. And then the 2010s, that was the period when it was an explosion in social media and influencers and all that. And it comes back that is the peace sign, but more for the picture, like, yeah. So the cute face for take a picture of me and the selfies. And eventually we come to the 2020s, and the biggest, most dramatic change would be COVID. And then it becomes more than, it was like the elbow. You want to hug or you want to touch? Like this. So the mudra has been evolving every 10 years. I don't know where it will go for the next 10, but definitely it was fun to think about this, how every decade we have been evolving. So when you look at the date of birth and we look at these two numbers of the year, what do we do with them? Well, in order to put them in this quadrant, you would add them. So for somebody who is born on the 65, I will do it. So I don't want to mess this much. Let me do it like this. Okay, yeah, that's fine. I know how to do it. So somebody born on the 65, you would do 6 plus 5, that's 11. And you can leave it as an 11, but 11, 1 plus 1 very often becomes a 2, most of the time. So you could write here an 11, maybe even a 2 if you wish. But I would always write here that it's coming from the 65. And why do I write this 65 here? Because this kind of 11 is not the same if you were born in the year 65 than if you were born in the year 56 or in the year 74. Somebody born in the 74 and somebody born in the 65, they're going to have a very similar expression of this 11 or this 2. However, there is this number and this number have different qualities. There is many people born in the 60s. There is less people born in the 65. So the number 5 is more specific than the 6, let's say. It's more specific. There's less people born in the 65. So when we look at this, if we think about the seeds and the earth, one way to express this is that the earth is the one which is giving gifts to us. And the seed is the gift that we have for us. This is the potential of what we can become. An acorn is the potential to become a great oak tree. So there is a gift hidden within the seed. So this we call it the gift. So number 11, or number 2 if you wish, is the number of the gift. However, in order for us to receive this gift, this is number 5. Shiv often calls it the challenge to receive the gift. So what does this mean? Well, you remember I mentioned that the seeds, we hold the seeds for next year. Yeah, we keep them safe. And the next year we already have that seed prepared and it's going to produce maybe a beautiful rice plant. Okay, the same way that there is a cycle of birth and rebirth every year, like with the seeds and growing them and the harvest and so on, in the same way we go through our life, like we are alive and then we die and then we reincarnate. This is the understanding from yoga. And when we incarnate into this new life, we are just arriving now on the date of birth, we are being born. We already hold a seed of the essence of who we are. There is a seed of an essence of who we are going to be, and it contains a certain gift. So everybody who is born into this life has some gifts in ourselves. And they are already given by whatever work we did in previous lives. So just by being born here, we have some gifts. And some people are good at painting, and some people are good at music, and whatever. There's some incredible talent within us, latent, sleep. It can be sleep like a seed. The seed is asleep until you give it water and you put it into fertile earth and make it grow. So this latent gift, it can manifest in life, and then it becomes something that we can utilize as part of our path. Or we can try to repress it. If we try to repress it, that's very, very damaging, self-damaging for ourselves, and that's not recommended. However, we can all gather this gift and put it into practice. However, to do that, we're going to need to overcome the challenge of these 5. So, when we are going to study these numbers, we will go a bit deeper, but the 5 would present some sort of challenge. When you overcome this challenge, then you have the gift available for you. What if both are the same, says Infinity? In my case, it's 99, and 9 plus 9 is 18, 8 plus 1 is 9. Yes, no problem. So in that case, you have 99, and the 9 is the challenge, and at the same time is the gift. So you have to overcome the challenges of number 9 to receive the gift of number 9. In this case, it's kind of connected in that way. Yes? So this is talking about this yearly circle. Every year we celebrate, holidays. Every year we celebrate our birth. Every year we have some events happening, like planting the seeds and gathering the harvest and so on. And in ourselves, this potential, this gift that is given to us and that we are born with it, the first, this is number one, right? So the first stage of our life is the one that is more connected to our mother. And in a way, the seed that you plant into the earth, the first earth, your first home, let's say, is your mother. Yeah, even the baby within the womb. So this 1 and 9 will also be connected to home, your relationship to your home, and also your relationship to your mother. Relationship to your mother. Now that's going to be very interesting when we go into psychology and when we explore how we are living our life. The relationship to our parents is very significant. The relationship to your mother will determine how you live and express or repress that latent gift that you already have from before, from past lives. And this is not to say that, this is my mother's fault and blame her because if I don't have my gift, because I repressed it, because of my relationship to my mother. That's not the point. The point of doing this is not blaming mothers. Let's remember what yoga says, which is that we chose the family to be born into. We chose that mother. So that mother was the person that we needed to, in order to either copy or do exact opposite of her behavior to whatever we had to learn. So she was just a vehicle for what we had to live in order to have the perfect environment for our development, for working out the karmas that we have to work in this life. Nevertheless, that's it. We have a mother, and how she lived with herself and her qualities and how she expressed them in relationship to you is affecting you with your relationship to your mother, to be able to gather and express your own gift. So there we go. And then whatever the number that you have here will determine that gift. What would that gift mean? So for example, in the case of number 9, like Infinity was saying, we were talking just a moment ago how number 9 can be peace and it can be patience, but it can also be impatient, because number 9 is so close to 10 that you are like, come on, what is the 10? So you can get impatient about the 10 never coming there. Or what is the 10? What is perfection? Let's say. So 9 is the number of perfectionism. Attention to detail. Attention to detail can be a blessing, but perfectionism can be a tyrant that is oppressive on our psyche and is always trying to get there. And so somebody who was born on a year like 99, like Infinity was saying, I don't know about Infinity. I'm not saying anything about you and your mom. So let me just say that first of all. But somebody in their relationship to their mom through number 9 could experience it like that. So my mother was a tyrant, for example, or my mother was always peaceful. That could be another expression. So the number 9 would manifest in one way or another, and you would live it in that expression through this number. This is how I relate to my mother. So hopefully that's kind of clear. Yeah. I think it's enough for the first. I mean, we could do like videos and videos and videos just on one of these aspects, and we will go slowly deeper. But when we start with the number 5, we have to do an overview, and then slowly we're going to going deeper as our vocabulary on numbers evolves and becomes more proficient. So it's a good beginning. Let's move on number 2, which we know it's water already. Yeah. And if the first element is the seed, if you remember in the different stages of the tree, the second one is the roots. And the roots are the daily cycle. Let's write it like this. The day. And again, the day that you were born, if you have 2 days, then you add them together up until they give 11 or less. If it's 12, 13, 14, 1 plus 4, that's 5. So let's say somebody's 14. Sorry, let me do this with the blue color. Somebody's 14, then they would have a number 5 here. And I write here 14 so that I know that this 5 is somebody who was born on the 14, not somebody who was born on the 23 or 32 cannot be. But it could be number 5 as well, somebody born on the 5th of some month. True and relatable? Okay, infinity. I truly, I'm not trying to guess how you are with your mother. Okay, and everybody, please, let's have a lot of respect for our mothers. I'm not putting them on the cross wire, let's say. Okay, the roots, water. Well, this is the cycle of the day. Now, how days are important? We are talking about the passage of. Oops, sorry. I don't know which button I touched. I think it was the starting. Hopefully nothing happened. Days. The day of our date of birth, why is it on the second quadrant? Well, because the daily cycle is a cycle of polarities. It's day and night, it's darkness and brightness, it's sun and moon. It's being bright and joy and darkness and sadness. No? So the polarity of day and night that we experience every day is these two aspects. It's always this polarity, day and night, dark and light. And I exist, I am alive, I go to sleep and I forget about myself and I don't exist. It's kind of like life and death in some way. So that's connected to polarity, to two aspects. And remember number 8, when we were talking about this, 8 being connected to Akal, and Akal being death. So 8 would be the infinity. That would be like dying as well. So the roots, which are looking for water, and the day, the daily cycle, this is also connected to life and death. Every day we have our daily needs, like water, much more necessary than food. You can spend a month without food. You can barely, I don't think, well, with a lot of difficulty, you would spend a week without water. Water, a few days, and you are going crazy already. Water is one of the most basic needs. Yeah, air even less than that. Yeah, but it talks a lot about our daily needs, the things that we need every day. Every day we need to go to sleep. Every day we need to eat. Every day we need to drink. Every day, whatever it is that we need, needs are something associated to 2 and 8. So this quadrant here is going to tell us about needs. So for example, somebody born on the 14th with a 5 is somebody who would need 5. What does 5 mean? Well, one of the things we know about 5 is that it's about balance. So we could say that somebody who every day you need a moment of balancing yourself, rebalancing. So let's find my balance. At some point during the day, you're going to need this. Otherwise, you're going to be you're not going to feel fine. And that not feeling fine may express in a number of ways, including this 1 and this 4. Yeah, this 1 and the 4 and the 5. So these are our daily cycles and it's our daily needs. And if I need something and that something is not being provided, I'm going to experience this as a problem. So this is the language of problems as well. So we're going to see this quadrant, these problems as well. I am tempted to start writing here, problems and needs. But it will become so full of words. I don't want to go too much. I didn't write too much over here. I don't want to overload this. But remember one thing. Water is also cleansing, is cleaning, and therefore is also healing. So not only this is problems, but it can also be healing. So our relationship to healing can be here in the needs. Now, the second stage in life, and the second relationship in life, is to our Father, our fathers. The first one is to our mothers, the second one is to our fathers, which is, curiously enough, very often an experience of lack or emptiness or necessity, needs. Remember, these are needs, because the 2, number 2 and the 8 are the expression of something that I need, because why do I need it? Because I don't have it. It's empty. And very often in families, the father is absent or the father is working many, many hours and then you can barely see him and so on. So for many people, the expression of their relationship to their father is going to be one through a lack, a need, and he wasn't there. So this is relationship to the father. I'm going to put it... just to emphasize it a little bit. So this is kind of curious because, look, the earth element, it's a male element, but we understand our maleness in relationship to the mother. So mother is a feminine quality, but we understand our male quality because of our contrast with seeing a woman. I see myself, I'm talking myself, I am a man, I see a woman in front and I can recognize that there is a difference between us. There is an opposite energy experience, and that's how I understand that I am different from her. So it is in the first quadrant, even though the first quadrant is a male energy, earth, you understand that male energy through relationship to the mother. The same way, the second energy is water. This is a girl energy, a female energy, feminine energy. And I say girl because it's very associated to being a child, because it's the second stage. Well, this little girl understands what it means to be a girl in comparison, in contrast with the energy of the father. They say, oh, I'm different from my father. And so that's how, that's why relationship to father is found in the second quadrant, which is a feminine element, water, rather than the other way around. This is how it works. And right now, I'm just telling you the way it is, and you don't have to believe me. Just take your own numbers. As the moment we understand more about numbers, you will be able to recognize this in yourself. Naam, nothing. Hello, welcome to the stream. All right. So we explore the second, the daily cycle. That would be the roots. That's the relationship to the father. Sometimes this will be called also connection to the soul, because the soul, as here is the first stage of life where we are, let's say, still in the belly of the mother. Remember, this is life and death. So this is before life. Yeah, this is even before we are born in the belly, and then now we are born. And the moment we are born, the first experience, this experience of two separating from your mother, that's like a reflection of the separation from your soul. And the moment that you feel separated, you arrive to this world and the experience is, I'm separated from the world. And that's like the first cry that we have when we are born. That's why this is also problems, yeah? And for death is like a problem, right? So, and disease and sickness, they would be connected to this quadrant. So, this is the moment of birth. Birth is like a separation of the soul, and it's when you feel separated from your soul, that's when you are connected to the soul. Because when everything is fine, you forget about your soul, you forget about meditating, you forget about yoga, you forget about everything. But when you are feeling sad and in pain and in need and there's problems in life, that's when we are, oh my God, why have you abandoned me? Yeah, why? Because we have this sadness, water is, crying. So now that we are expressing this sadness is when we are connecting to the soul. We are looking for the soul. We think, where is the soul? Well, actually, the fact that you are looking for it is that you are connecting to the soul. Before you were not looking for it, so you were disconnected. But now that you are feeling sad and troubled and you want to find out what's happening and what's my purpose in life and so on, well, looking for your soul, that expression comes as an expression of water. All right, so this is the day of our date of birth, the year, the day. Well, let's go to the fire. It's going to be the next one. The fire, the monthly cycle, if this is the seed, and this is the root, the fire is what is called the branches. And the branches of life is going to be the month. I'm going to explain this in a little bit, but let me just say that we do the same. If it's the month 11, we leave an 11. If it's the month 12, we add them, it's number 3. If it's the month, let's say you are born in August, well, the number would be 8 here. Imagine, no? This is like 14th of August of 1965. Well, here we have it. Well, why do we put the month here? Well, let's explore that for a moment. These were natural. Every year, the sun, the earth goes around the sun, one whole lap, and that's yearly cycle. We cannot change that. We observe that every year. Every day, the earth goes around its axis once. We cannot change that. We experience that, and that's the daily cycle. These things are natural. We cannot play with these things. The thing that we can play then is with months. And we humans love to play. In fact, playing is one of the qualities of here. I was just thinking, play. Funs, games, is playing, is the fire, is fun. Fire is fun, isn't it? So the month, if you noticed, we don't determine the year is given, but in the Western calendar mostly, the monthly cycle is something that has been decided by humans. Somebody decided, no, January is going to be 31 days, and February is going to be 28 or 29. And March, so somebody had to decide it was going to be like this. That means that this is made by men. This is not a magic that created men. This is the kind of magic that men create. The year cycle, the daily cycle, this is established, this is natural. These are natural. This is unnatural. This is made by man. And the quality that is associated with something that is made by man is the quality of fire, because fire is the element that we utilize to make tools. With the fire we can melt metal, and with the metal we can make instruments and tools and utilize them to our purpose. We can make things with them. This is where science and technology is born. So this is whatever number we have here is going to be our relationship to science and technology and to games and to playing and also to work, because we utilize the fire for working. So work and games and playfulness and fun, all this is going to come with the relationship of the month. Make sense? And by the way, this is the way our calendar is made. This is not lunar month. We are not using a lunar calendar. If you were using a lunar calendar, you would use that date from the lunar calendar here. But I know many Chinese people, and even them, even though they have the lunar calendar, most of them utilize the Western calendar as well, or at least those who I have met. Maybe that's why. Maybe I should go to China and ask. Maybe in China itself, they would use a lunar calendar. But in any case, what I wanted to say is this: how interesting that a human life from conception to birth, we say it takes 9 months. And I say, well, hold on a second. If we have 10 numbers and the numbers are everywhere, why isn't it 10? Because 10 is perfection, right? And 10 is completeness. Why doesn't a baby take 10 months to be born? And actually it does. It's just that it's 10 lunar months. So it's 10 times that we see the moon going through its cycle than it takes for a baby to be born. Now, when we convert that to artificial monthly cycle, the way we define it by Western calendars, it becomes 9 months. So how interesting that a baby is in the belly of the mother actually 10 lunar months. So that's interesting. But because it's something that we created, because it's something that we make it with fire. This is our science and our technology. These are our actions. We know that our actions made by the man with no alignment with nature, they are what becomes karma. So this is the number that is going to reflect more what happens with our karma. Actually, this number is going to link to this one very much, because this is our drama, problems, water, crying, needs. Yes? And problems want solutions. Fire, the fire and the instruments and the elements in the technology and the science, we evolve all those aspects to find solutions to our problems. So these two axes get together and they form an incredibly powerful link. Those numbers that you have here, this 8 and this 5, for example, they create an incredible link. And that's something that is often like a barrier, very difficult to cross. And then we have the gift and the potential in our life, and we have to work through the three-dimensional world, the space, and the passage of time, infinite and infinity, and life and death. So between time and space, we have to cross through this barrier, time and space, drama and karma, from the seeds to, we will see what is this. From the seeds, from the potential to here. We are going to come here, right here. So, are we ready for this one? From the seeds to the destiny. This is the flower. If these were the branches, I keep moving it up because I want to emphasize that we're working on this, but maybe it's annoying that I keep moving the page all the time. This is air, and this is called the flower. And this is what Shiv will call it the century cycle. The century cycle. And just like in the decades, we had some particular expression, like the 60s with the hippies, and the 70s protests, and 80s with the pop culture and so on. There is a kind of an equivalent with the centuries, and we could see the 1500s would be the Renaissance, and the 1600 would be reform and expansion, and then the scientific revolution on the next century, and so on. We could be exploring every century as we are moving, but the thing that is affecting us now are the first two, these two numbers. Yeah, this is the century. So 1500, 1600, 1700s, up until 1900, and who will be this person? 65, we said. So, okay, 1965. So these are the centuries, and it goes here because rarely a person goes over 100 years old. So 100 so far. Maybe now with the new science, this will change very quickly. But so far, 100 years is like the measuring standard for a life person's maximum span, generally, for most people. So that means that 100 years, a century, is like the passing of a whole generation, from being born up until your death, and the people that you leave behind. So it's a generational sense of passing of time. Centuries, 16th century, 17th century. And so the relationship is not towards, oh, by the way, I didn't put the relationship, but it was here. My bad, okay? So if this was relationship to mother, this is to father. The next element is relationship to your peers, which is, the people that you work with, and the people that you play with. Peers are people of similar age, so your sisters and brothers, and your friends and enemies, and your, workers, the workers that your colleagues, that's the word, your colleagues at work. So this is relationship to those people who are similar in your age to you. And of course, the next one is just quite simple. If we are talking about generations passing, it's clear that this is our relationship to our children. which is the flower of society. Yeah, the children being born. This is the relationship to others similar to me. And look, this is the three. Number three is the pyramid. That's why I wrote the pyramid here. So it's also connected to social pyramid. So this is social. It's a social element. This is about children. It's about who stays behind, who will stay after us, and who will carry on what we initiated here. What's the result? What's going to be the outcome of this? And so this is children, and this is what you leave behind. So we can, in a way, we call this the destiny. Now, a detail though, because when we take 1965, what we write here, we don't just take the 1 and the 9, because many people were born on the 1900s. That wouldn't help too much to explore what number is here. We will actually take the whole year. So we're gonna add all of these numbers, in this case 1 plus 9 plus 6 plus 5. Notice that I didn't do 1 plus 9 is 10, 6 plus 5 is 11. So 10 plus 11, I do 1 plus 9 plus 6 plus 5. So 16 and 5, 21, and 2 plus 1 gives 3. So this will be 3. And I don't write here 1965. Oh, this is much smaller than this one. So it didn't have to be. It could be the same size. Okay, I should have done it a bit bigger. But that would be the number that goes over here. The century cycle. So this is the relationship to children. Our children and other children. Yeah, those who are younger than us. Those who are similar in age. Those who are before us, our ancestors, and similar and younger than us. Well, this is our destiny. This is the element of air. The 3 and the 7 was connected to the mind. You will remember we were doing a course on number 7, and 7 is the mind. The mind is what would utilize to work and to play, so that makes sense. The element of air is the element of consciousness. So this would be the quadrant of choice. Yeah, it's with the consciousness that you make choices. And you would have to, when you face a choice, you're going to face your fears, or you're going to have your faith. So this is all this the language, whatever is here, this is many things. Not just the relationship to children, right? It's going to be about how am I facing my destiny? What kind of choices do I do? What do I trust? In order to choose something, you have to trust that it's going to take you towards your destiny. So that's going to be all connected to this quadrant. And now you see that that we had this axis. This was the axis of the karma and the drama. And this was like in opposition of the path we want to take from the seat of us as humans, is our soul, towards our destiny. So from the potential of what we can become, our gift, to bring it to realization into the destiny. We want to go from here to here, and these are the two which are stopping us in many ways. This is like a general overview. Then we will explore it with more personal cases. But as a general overview, it's already helpful. Hopefully. All right. Let's go to the center. This bubble which is raised, you have to imagine that is, higher. And this is going to be the total. Because the number 5 and number 10 is all of it. Is the 0. Is the 0 that is like holding everything together. The number 10 is the number of totality. So that means our total self. When we join all these parts and we put them together. Remember that 5 is in the middle. So it communicates what's in one side to the other to connect. So this is the number of connection and communication. Is the number of joining two things together. So is the number of marriage. So you can already see that if this was relationship to children, this is the relationship to your partner. And we know how important is communication in the relationship. And this is like, there is a whole that is more than the parts. So this area is what's connecting the many parts together. And the number that we have here will be how we'll, as I mentioned before, it's like the window into the world. So this is like everything in the world will be filtered through here. Now, how would we find this number? Well, we have to calculate it by taking all the numbers. Let's put it. We had that it was the 14th in this example of the month 8 of 1965. Yes? So 1965, 1 plus 9 plus 6 plus 5, we already calculated, it was 21. Now plus 8, that's 29. Plus 1 is 30, plus 4 is 34. So the total for this person, this imaginary person, would be a 7, which comes from the number 34. Notice that I didn't do 3 plus 8 plus 5. I didn't do that. Because otherwise, if you do that, 3 plus 8 plus 5 is a shortcut. 8, 9, 10, 11, plus 5, that's 16. 6 plus 1 is 7. So you would have the 7. Adding these three numbers is a shortcut to find this number. Sometimes it doesn't work. And also, you would not know what are these two little numbers are. And these two little numbers are also important. Not only the 7, but the 3 and the 4 also tells us things about the person. The concept of the challenge as the 5 to receive the gift, that's only relevant here. The 4 is not a challenge for the 5. So don't think of the 4 as the challenge. These three numbers are going to be present. 5 will be the strongest one, but the 1 and the 4 will also be there. 7 is the strongest, though the 3 and the 4 will also be present here. And this is what in numerology it is called the path number. Because it's like relevant to all the other aspects, and is the path of life from being born and going through the ages to the end, to the destiny. So it's the whole path of life. It's filtered through this number. It kind of integrates all the different parts of the date of birth. It's our total self. It's linked to our identity, who we understand that we are. And this is how we would put the date of birth on the diagram. So if any number it's adding it gives more than 11, we add them together again to reduce them to one digit. Otherwise, we leave the number as it is, like the month 8, we leave the month as it is. I think this is a good first introduction. I don't want to go deeper into this, but there is much, much more that will come out of this. Also about the effect that this number has on us, on how we relate to the other numbers, but that's going to come a little bit later on. I think for today is enough. It's already been an hour. I don't want it to be too intellectual. And if you are observing this video and listening to it and trying to understand, remember something that we often say in Karam Kriya: breathe more than you think. Okay, if you try to understand everything, sometimes you may end up with a headache in these courses. So try to not engage too much on the intellectual level, because that's only one part of us. Yeah, this is the mind, this is the soul, this is our energy, this is our consciousness, this is our total self. Don't engage just one. Don't try to understand it just intellectually, but open yourself and allow the magic to happen just very openly, and see how this, just writing the numbers down, is already starting to influence you. All right. For us, for today, is enough, and we will evolve this diagram. We will continue upgrading it slowly through this course. Thank you for everyone for watching. If you enjoyed it, as usual, don't forget to leave a like. It is very useful for the video, and share it with others. And I'll see you all on Thursday with an open topic, or next week. Notice that in this month, I put in the community tab, I always put which days I'm going to be streaming. I'm going to be streaming as usual every Tuesday and Thursday, except the week, the third or the fourth week, I think it's the fourth week of the month, the 22 to the 28, something like that. So that week I will not be streaming. You can find the dates on the community tab of the channel. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening and for some of the messages. Until next time, Naam.